So here we go. Hi there, I'm exercise instructor Robert Taylor, and today we're going to do a resistance band class. We're here at the lovely studio at Hills Road Sports Centre. So what you'll need for this exercise class is a resistance band. There's different makes and different levels of resistance bands, usually low, medium, high. So just be aware of what resistance band you're using first. And I'll explain the general premise as we go. But first of all, like any exercise class, we're just going to do a little warm-up without the band, and then we'll bring that band in soon. So we'll find ourselves in some space, and we'll just start with a march, and we'll just bring in some bicep curls, and I just want you to squeeze your arm at the top of that motion there, just to warm up the front of the arm, but also a bit of a circulation booster, just so you can get that blood pumping around the body and warming up those muscles, lubricating those joints. So we'll keep this going for about 30 seconds. Of course, with any of these exercises, stating the obvious, but you can rest whenever you need, have a bit of water whenever you need. It's you versus you and nobody else. We'll relax the arms, and then we'll come into a side step, and we'll just bring the arms up at the sides. If this is a little bit too much coordination-wise, you can just do the side step, just do the arms. It's absolutely fine. Just be aware that you've got enough space, stepping from side to side, and keep that movement nice and controlled. It may be that you go a bit faster than this, or a little bit slower, so it's all about your own pace. So here we're warming up the hips and the bottom, inside, outside of the thigh, and those medial shoulder muscles as well there. So we'll keep this going for about 30 seconds or so. Good, I can feel that coming into the hips, a little bit of muscular tension already. So the next one, I'll show this side on. We're going to be doing a bit of pushing and pulling today. So pushing for the chest primarily, and pulling for the big back muscles. So this will be a really good exercise just to warm our body up a little bit, especially in the chest and the back here. You'll notice I'm not locking out my arms, so I've always got a little bend in the elbows. I've got a nice proud chest, but I'm not leaning back. Some imagery, if you imagine you're balancing a full pint glass of water or whatever beverage you want on your sternum, on your chest, you want to keep that finely balanced. I'll turn back round and we'll do some arm rotations as well. We're only going to keep this warm-up going for about 5 minutes before we get into the band, and you can always start a little bit lighter on the band in terms of resistance and tension and build it up from there. So mobilising the shoulder now, keep those feet nice and springy. If this range of motion is too much, then you can just roll the shoulders, or you can bring the arms a little bit more down to your sides, and be aware as we go back now that the shoulder blades are going to pinch just a little bit more intensely as we move the arm back, because now we're engaging the middle to upper back again. Getting close, 15 more seconds here, and then we'll have about 1 more minute of warming up before we transfer to the band. So we're going to have a Rocky or Nicola Adams moment next. We'll get our guard up and just forward punches. Imagine that you're maybe punching flying beach balls away from you, just so you've got a bit of purpose behind the punch. I'll show you side on, so just make sure that you're not shrugging your shoulders up towards your ears. Keep those shoulders relaxed and down. Fantastic. As I say, even if it's a warm-up, you can go a bit slower than this, you can have a rest when you need, or you can pick up the pace a little bit if it's not challenging enough. We'll do one more before we head to the band, one more exercise. So it's like a sideway bicep curl. I call these the King Kongs. It's like you're banging your chest, but don't actually bang your chest. Well done for keeping those feet moving at the same time. It's surprising how consistent marching can actually get that body heat up. Get that breath up a little bit, and we'll slowly come to a stop, have a breather, and I'll introduce you to the resistance band. So I think the best way, the simplest move to introduce you to a resistance band and how it works is the good old-fashioned bicep curl. which is for the front of the arm. So the general premise is you want the band to be under your foot, and you want to make sure that it's under the main middle part of your foot, just so it's not going to ping back up at your face. Make sure the band is of even length each side. And the idea is that the less space between your hand and the anchor point being my foot, the more tension there's going to be in the band. So for a bicep curl, we've got elbows just at the side, and we're bringing our hands towards our shoulder. You'll probably be able to see in the mirror, but I'll show you side on just in case. The elbows will naturally come forward a little bit, but they shouldn't escape the side of your body there. We'll have a minute window or so on this exercise. Now, of course, if you're doing it with your resistance band and you think this is too easy, you have a couple of options. You can either bring the grip down a little bit more, or it might be that you change your stance so you can get a little bit more tension in the band with your feet as well. So we'll go for about 30 more seconds on here. I'll show you one more thing you can do. If you've got one foot in, keep moving whilst I transition. You can add a bit of lower body in here as well, and you can get a step forward and back. Just make sure that step isn't too narrow, so you don't want to look like you're walking the tightrope or anything. So we've got 10 more seconds, and then we'll bring in a new exercise. So those biceps are probably burning a little bit now. There shouldn't be any pain, but you should feel that those biceps are indeed working, and we'll slowly come to a stop. Never let go of the band suddenly, otherwise you'll get a ping, and you don't want that pinging across the room into anything. So we're going to change legs now, and what we're going to start with is a front raise for the front of the shoulder, toning the front of the shoulder. I'll show you at different angles. So we've got a little bend in the elbow, but the main movement is at the shoulder here. If I show you side on. In terms of breathing, you can breathe in before you lift, and then breathe out as you're doing the hard work. Make sure you don't hold your breath as you're doing the hard work. We can also bring a step in now on the other leg as well. That will challenge balance a little bit more because our weight's further away from the midline of the body than the bicep curl. If in doubt, step it out and start again. We'll go for about 30 more seconds on here. Feeling that in my shoulders this morning, absolutely. And always making sure that that band hasn't slipped forward from under your foot, because if it does, then it will ping up towards your face, which is never a good day at the exercise office. 10 more seconds here. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. So loosen that band off before you let go with the foot. I'm going to show you an exercise sitting down now. So it's still going to be some hard work. Just make sure that your chair isn't on a slip surface, that it's nice and stable. The bands can be fiddly, so take your time with the setup. Our anchor point is going to be our feet again, so we can shuffle the heels out, and just make sure that that band isn't on the toes like we said before. So with this exercise, we're going to do an exercise that's great for posture, which is basically called a row. So looking forward, chin slightly tucked in, elbows back. This chair is great because the chair isn't getting in the way. If you've got a slightly wider chair, that's absolutely fine to come a little bit wider. So this is a great exercise helping towards weight loss because we're working big back muscles, getting good quality muscle in the back as well, but the main thing I like about this is opening that chest up and avoiding that rounded back posture. If you want a little bit more tension, we know what to do. We can grab lower down, but then that could mean you're leaning too far forward. So the best way to probably go about things is to cross the band. So I usually do between 1 or 2 minute windows on this one. So we'll do about 30 more seconds. One thing I haven't spoken about with these bands is that you can use them in a different way. So you can actually experiment with holds, as long as you don't hold your breath. So you may come back, hold for a little bit with those muscles under tension, and and then slowly return. You should never look springy and have momentum of the band when using these resistant bands. So we'll go for a couple more repetitions. Fantastic, definitely feeling those muscles warming up in my back. So I'll show you another seated one. Now we've done pulling, so it makes sense to do pressing, doesn't it, as well? Now once again, this could be a little bit fiddly, so just take your time. Don't worry if you don't get it right first time. So the idea is that we bring the band around the chair. Just make sure that it's of even length there or thereabouts each side, and then you can bring it behind your back and turn around. That seems to be the best way to get into this position. Just making sure that the band remains taut so it doesn't slide too far up or too far down. So that looks in a safe place. Obviously you wouldn't want it to be at the top of the chair and pin you in the back. So with this one here, it's the opposite movement. We've got that nice proud chest, balancing that full pint glass of water on the sternum there. I've got nice long range in my arms without locking out the elbows. Breathing in, loading those muscles with oxygen before I utilise that oxygen, and press again. You'll also notice that my elbows are by my side, so they're not up here, I'm not in a T-shaped position, and my chin is nicely relaxed. If you want it to be a little bit more difficult, then here you go. You can press, cross one arm, then cross the other, which is increasing the time under tension in those chest muscles, triceps and front of the shoulder there. So because we're moving at different joints and we're working some big muscles here, I tend to spend a little bit longer on these exercises. Of course, it's window of opportunity. You can stop and start whenever you need. And hopefully I look nice and upright as well. I'm not using the backrest, or I'm not leaning forward into the exercise. So these are all things to look out for. We'll do a couple more. And of course, if you wanted to, as long as you don't hold your breath, you could experiment with a hold as well. And then we'll slowly bring that back. Okay, nice and slowly out of this position. So I'm sure you're getting to use the resistance band now. Actually, I'm going to do one more exercise on the chair, because although we've been marching, we haven't really done any muscular endurance on the legs. So let's do that. So this is a little bit of a fiddly one again, but get that band nice and flat on the floor, there or thereabouts, under that ball of the foot to middle part of the foot, just making sure that the band is of even length each side. So we're going to do a sit to stand, which is similar to a squat, which is working all those global leg muscles. So with this one, we're on the front third of the chair. We've already got tension in the band. Roll those shoulders back to the middle point and keep those knees over those front of the foot and ankle there. So nose towards knees, standing up, squeeze that bottom a little bit, and we've got some nice tension in the band there as well. So we'll spend about a couple of minutes on this exercise here. As long as you're in control, you can experiment with pace, and also you don't have to even use the chair. You could use the chair just as a guide, and you could turn it into a complete squat. And it's all about you versus you, isn't it? So it may be that chair's too low for a complete squat, and you can just keep that squat at a range of motion that's challenging but good for you. So I'll bring it back to a sit to stand. We're about 1 minute in. Fantastic. Try not to get momentum behind the exercise. You don't want to swing back. That's just going to help you out a little bit too much. And of course, if you think you can take a little bit more tension, you can widen your feet a little bit, or you can grip a little bit lower down the band. And that's going to be a little bit more of a squeeze. You're going to feel tension in the shoulder muscles as well, like you're carrying heavy shopping bags here. And relax. Okay. Make sure that band doesn't ping. Have a drink of water if you need. So we're going to go back to standing now. And we're going to start moving from side to side and bringing shoulder exercise in as well. So we're back to that anchor point that we started with, making sure that the band is under that safe part of the foot in the middle, even length. You're seeing all the regular teaching points here now. So this is like a star jump, but it's going to be a star step. Of course, you could just do the step if you didn't want to use the band, or you could just use the arms, but we're going to do the full exercise here. We'll step to the other side on the next exercise. So with this one here, we're working the middle part of our shoulder. Also, we're going to get a little bit of stabilisation in the sides of the body, because we're moving our arms away from the midline of the body. And anytime we're stepping out, you get a squeeze in the hip and the bottom, outside of the thigh. And on the way in, a little bit of tension on the inside of the thigh there as well. So we'll stay here for about a minute. Well done. Making sure you're not holding that breath. If you do get the breathing around the wrong way, don't worry, that's not a disaster. The fact that you're aware to it means you can change it. Just don't hold your breath. Almost there. You can bend at the elbows a little bit more. And of course, through the exercise, if it gets a bit too hard, because we talked about making it harder, but you can make it a little bit easier as well. Progressions, regressions, and relax. So, we need to step the other side, don't we? We won't do the same upper body move again. We'll mix that up. Getting the band nice and even. We're going to take a grip further down the band because this isn't quite as wide a move. So this is another shoulder exercise, shoulder and biceps, and with our step as well. It's called an upright row. It kind of looks like you're pulling your baggy clown pants up, is how I like to think about it, but you're leading the exercise with your elbows. So have a look at my arms. My elbows are above my wrist, or above my wrists. Your wrists shouldn't be above your elbows, and my hands are maybe even lightly grazing my top, so it keeps everything nice and close and supported. You will feel this a little bit in the muscles that lead up to your neck. That's normal, but the tension shouldn't be too much. So if you're quite narrow with your hands and the tension's too much in your neck, either give a little less resistance on the band, or come a little bit wider. And that should ease the tension a little bit. You're still going to feel a little bit of tension because it's like a string there, shoulder up to the neck. But it's important we protect those necks. Fantastic, almost there on this one. Of course, you can split up the exercises as well. It may be if you get tired with just doing the arms, then you do the step and then come back in with the arms when you're ready. And relax. Well done. Time is going nice and smoothly for us. So this is great. I'm going to do another exercise that's great for opening up the chest and for posture now, but it's focusing on 4 smaller muscles in your back. You may know them as the rotator cuff muscles. I'll show you side on. I'm going to start without a march, but we can add a march in a moment. So making sure the band is of even length again, and of course, the more band that's between your hands, the easier the exercise is going to be. So what we're doing, nice neutral wrists. These are called band pull-aparts. Be careful not to let go. It probably won't do any harm, but it'll just make you jump on this one. Now don't worry if you don't have as much range as me. You want to relax those shoulders, make sure you're not shrugging those shoulders up. Even if we've just got the half range, that's fine. If we've got any less than that, probably make the exercise a little bit easier. I call this exercise a sneaker because it's working smaller muscles. So maybe the first couple you think, yeah, I could do that all day, and then within 1 repetition, your muscles let you know that hard work is going on. But this opens up the chest and works those small muscles around the shoulder blade and shoulder there. What you can do as well, you can add a march if you want to get that heart rate up as well. And if you're thinking, this isn't hard enough for me, Rob, you can put your palms up, and just by you don't have to keep your thumbs sticking out because you want a safe grip, but you want your thumbs to be travelling back And that will engage those rotator cuff muscles even more. So let's see how long I can do this before I need a rest. We're almost there. Of course you can rest at any time, as we say. Get water whenever you can. When you're marching and doing an upper body movement, the main thing that seems to happen is people start to lose energy in their feet. So don't forget about your feet as well. Keep those feet nice and springy and relax. So we've probably got about 4 more minutes before we're going to go into the cool down. So, excuse me. So the next exercise I'm going to show you is a nice exercise to work the back of your arm. It seems to be a popular area to tone up. So the easiest way to do this without an external attachment point is hold the band out in front of you. You can either stand with feet just outside hip width apart. Some people feel more secure in a lunge stance, so just pick whichever is better for you. Make sure that shoulder isn't too far rolled forward. You can roll it back to the midpoint. We're leaning forward just a little bit. And we're going to kick back at the elbow. The shoulder will come forward just a little bit, but you don't want to over-exaggerate that forward roll in the shoulder. And this will squeeze at the back of your arm. We're isolating that tricep muscle now. Breathing in as we return. You don't need to get your elbow too far back to feel a nice squeeze, so don't force that range of motion too much. Just your elbow a little bit further back than the side of your body, there or thereabouts, will be fine. Also your front shoulder, as in the arm that's holding the band, can get tired as well because you're keeping a hold, so just be aware of that. We'll go to the other side. When you're working unilaterally like this, one side independent of the other, do be aware that one side might be a little bit weaker or stronger than the other as well. Once you get used to that, it's usually good to start exercising on that slightly weaker side first, and then build up both sides at that level so you don't get any major imbalances over time. Fantastic. So we'll be just about a minute on here rather than 2, because we're just moving at one joint, aren't we? So the tension's in a very concentrated place, that mild tension that we're feeling. Almost there. And of course, I know I've said it before, but if you want to, you can experiment with a little bit of a hold and then slowly come back. It may be that you time under tension, so you might go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So hopefully I'm not giving you too much information, but all these different approaches that you can do with this exercise. We'll come to a seated position again for the last exercise, I think, before we stretch off. This exercise is more of a trunk to lower back exercise. We're going to be in the same position that we were in for the sit to stand. So making sure, you probably finished my sentence now, but making sure that that band is under the secure part of your foot, the ball to middle part of your foot, and the band is of even length, there or thereabouts, both sides. Front third of the chair, so we're not relying on the chair too much, but we're not too far forward that the chair's going to be insecure. And with this one here, I want you to lean forward, but the main thinking is we want our nose and eyes to be forward. We don't want them to be tucked in or looking to the floor or looking up towards the ceiling. So as you come forward, your chin, your neck remains in the same position. You can shuffle your hands down, and this is actually the exercise. It's quite a subtle one, this one. We're working a small area of the body. You can, depending on your range of motion, come a little bit lower. And the main thing you mustn't do, I'm only going to do it once, is that. So you mustn't let your abdominal muscles or your chest, your rib cage, thrust forward. If in doubt, just imagine that you're clamping very lightly your lower ribs in. You will feel this in the abdominals, but in the lower back as well. And it shouldn't be any faster than this. Another sneaker, I would say. I think it goes into the sneaker category, this. And relax. Okay, I'm going to do a few stretches with you. I was going to roll this up, but we might not all have roll-up bands, so I won't waste time with that. There's all different types of resistance bands out there. So we'll do a stretch. We can sit down because we've done a hard bit of work, but I'll show you some standing alternatives as well. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll lace those fingers. We've done some pulling, haven't we? We'll lightly tuck in the chin, and we'll press those palms forward. And you'll see that I've got a lightly exaggerated curve in the middle to upper back. I'm also lightly pressing through my palms. Because my fingers are laced, I've got a little bit of a stretch in the forearms as well. Of course, if you can do it, then do it. We'll do these stretches standing as well. Between 15 seconds to 30 seconds on the stretch, and don't hold your breath, of course. So if you was doing these exercises sporadically, randomly through the day, as long as you've warmed up for them, and you thought, I'm going to get my resistance band out and do some pulling, this would be the opposite stretch to do once you finish that. So we'll bring the hands either to the front of the hips, side, bottom, or further back, depending on your range of motion. And I love this saying, it's simple, but widen at the collarbone, widen at the clavicle. And that gives you a nice open chest. Also, it's a range of motion that over time deteriorates a little bit, so it's quite nice to promote this range of motion, even if you haven't got any troubles in that area at the moment. I feel like I could hold this one all day. It feels very, very nice. A few more seconds there. We've done some shoulder and into the neck as well, haven't we? So in the last couple of minutes, we'll bring a shoulder stretch in. I'll say this one out loud. Arm out, across, let the other arm assist. And make sure this cheeky shoulder here doesn't start attacking your face. So keep that shoulder down. And what this is doing is it's stretching this part of the shoulder. To get the neck stretch in, look the opposite way to your straight arm. And we're all different, but I find that neck stretch really satisfying. Good. Same again, other side. You can hold these stretches for longer. Notice that I'm not forcing my arm across, it's just light assistance. And we'll finish with a couple of lower body stretches to finish off the class as well. And relax. So a good stretch for the back of the legs, the hamstrings. We'll start with this side actually so you can see. So we've got a bend in the back leg. If you want to feel it a little bit more in the calf muscle, you can put your front toe forward as well. And the idea is that you're just bending at that knee but shifting your hips back and keeping your chin lightly tucked in so everything is neutral at that spine. And you should be feeling a stretch to mild tension in the back of your thigh, your hamstring there. Of course, if that's too hard to hold, the seated version is absolutely fine as well. You've worked hard, so you can sit down if needs. It's just about getting a good stretch, isn't it? Same again, other side. Without the toe up, it'll just be toe down. If you can't get a straight leg and there's a little bit of a bend, that's not a problem as long as it's as straight as you can to mild tension. And that's absolutely fine. Brilliant. I'll show you one more stretch and then I think we'll call it a day. I'm hot and sweaty on a cold, frosty morning, so that's got to mean something, hasn't it? So just make sure once again that chair's not going to slide or go anywhere. Check the flooring and so on. So with this one here, it's a nice long stride into the chair, using the chair for balance support. Heelers up at the back. Make sure it's not overstretching, but a nice wide stride. And then we're just going to bring the knee forward and the hips forward a little bit. And you get this nice stretch in the upper part of the thigh. The hip flexor here, as you may have heard it called. Make sure that your chest isn't caving in on this one. So stay nice and upright. And just be careful that you're not leaning back at your spine as well. It's all in the hips. The best thing I like to do is step to the chair, then step back, reset. I Thrust those hips forward just a little bit, and then bring the knee forward, and I get that nice stretch in the top of the thigh there as well. So last stretch, we're almost there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stepping into the chair. Thank you ever so much for taking part in the resistance band class, and enjoy the rest of your virtual festival.